Hey NBA fans, welcome to this video about banned tactics in the NBA. The National Basketball Association is one of the most popular professional sports leagues in the world. Fans enjoy watching thrilling games featuring some of the best players in the world. But there are specific rules and regulations that must be followed by teams and players alike. In this video, we'll be exploring some of the tactics that have been banned by the NBA over the years. From the hack-a-Shaq strategy to illegal defense rules, we will look at why these tactics were banned and how they impacted the game. Do you ever wonder why some of the best players in the league are banned? Today, we're going to take a look at the most controversial and banned tactics in the NBA. Let's start with the most infamous ban, Malice in the Palace. It was November 19, 2004, and the Indiana Pacers and Detroit Pistons had just finished a lopsided game. Ron Artest and Ben Wallace got into it on the court, and their fight spilled over into the spectator area. After that, spectators and players began trading punches, leading to what would become known as the Malice at the Palace. This incident became so notorious that the NBA made it illegal for players to ever go into the stands again. Second on our list is the hack-a-Shaq tactic. The hack-a-Shaq rule in the NBA is a rule that was implemented in the 2015-2016 season. It's a defensive strategy when a defensive player intentionally fouls a poor free throw shooter in order to prevent them from scoring. This rule was in response to the widespread use of this strategy against Shaquille O'Neal, who was notoriously bad at free throws. The rule states that if a team commits 2 or more intentional fouls in the same game, it will be penalized with a technical foul, and the player fouled will shoot 2 free throws and retain any subsequent possession. This rule has proven to be effective in limiting the use of the strategy and reducing the amount of time wasted on free throws. This tactic was so controversial that the NBA recently changed the rules to make it illegal. Third, we have the freeze-out rule. The freeze-out rule in the NBA is a rule that prevents a team from deliberately not passing the ball to an individual player during a game. This rule was put in place to ensure fairness and equal opportunity for all players on the court. It is considered a serious violation of the league's code of conduct and can result in disciplinary action or even a suspension. This rule is in place to ensure that players are given the respect they deserve and that teams cannot take advantage of one player over another. The freeze-out rule also helps to ensure that the game of basketball is played in a more competitive manner. Fourth, we have the flop rule. The flop rule in the NBA was first introduced in 2012 in an effort to reduce the amount of flopping that was occurring in game. Flopping is an attempt by a player to deceive officials into calling a foul on the opponent by exaggerating the effect of contact. The rule states that any player caught flopping will be subject to fines and/or suspensions. Fifth, we have the no-touch rule. The no-touch rule is one of the most important rules in the NBA. It prohibits any physical contact between players, referees, and coaches on the court. This rule is in place to help protect player safety and maintain the game's integrity. The no-touch rule has been in effect since the early 1980s and has been enforced more strictly in recent years. This rule was put in place to ensure that players cannot use their arms to gain an advantage. Sixth, we have the tackle ban. This rule states that players are not allowed to tackle or body check other players. This rule was put in place to prevent players from using their bodies to gain an advantage over their opponents. Seventh, we have the taunt ban. The taunt ban rule in the NBA is a rule that was established in 2005 to reduce the number of on-court incidents that involve players taunting opponents. The rule is enforced by the league and its referees, who can issue a technical foul to any player they deem to have taunted an opponent. This rule was implemented to ensure that players cannot use their words to gain an advantage over their opponents. Eighth, we have goaltending. A rule in the NBA that prohibits a player from touching the ball on its downward flight to the basket. This rule was created to prevent players from making overly aggressive plays and interfering with shots. It is a violation for a player to touch the ball when it is on the rim, in the cylinder above the rim, or when it is between the basket and the backboard. If goaltending is called, the basket is counted, and the team that had the ball retains possession. Goaltending is an important rule in the NBA and is used to ensure fair play and keep the game moving. Ninth, we're talking about the sixth man. This tactic, popularized by the Dallas Mavericks in the mid-90s, involved replacing a starter with a substitute in order to gain an advantage. This tactic has been banned by the NBA due to concerns that it gives an unfair advantage to teams that have the resources to bring in a quality substitute player. This strategy has the potential to give a team a better chance of winning by taking advantage of the fatigue of the starters on the opposing team. The ban on this tactic emphasized the NBA's commitment to fair play and maintaining a level playing field for all teams. 10th, we're talking about the reach-in foul. This technique, popularized by the Miami Heat in the late 2000s, involved grabbing an opposing player's arm while they were dribbling. This tactic was banned in 2011, as it was felt that it gave players an unfair advantage. In the 11th one, we're talking about the elbow pass. Elbow pass is a tactic used by basketball teams in which an offensive player throws a pass to a teammate using their elbow as the point of contact. This tactic was popularized in the 1980s, but the NBA has since outlawed the maneuver due to safety concerns. The NBA believes that the high speed and trajectory of the pass, combined with the risk of accidental contact between players, make this tactic too dangerous to use. Although some players still attempt to use the elbow pass, they are subject to fines and suspensions if they are caught using the maneuver. Last but not least one is finger roll. This technique, popularized by the Los Angeles Lakers in the early 2000s, involved using a finger to roll the ball off the backboard and into the basket. This tactic was banned in 2008, as it was felt that it gave players an unfair advantage. So there you have the most controversial and banned tactics in the NBA. Do you think these rules are necessary or too strict? Let us know in the comments below.